I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
And this is Saint Veronika.
Billy Talent.
For the big homie.
Muk Meh.
Muk. Is it Muk Meh?
I don't know. He keeps telling me and I keep forgetting.
There you are, dear listener. Muk Meh. If you, dear listener, would like your song reviewed, the process is really very simple. $1 to gate gets you in the Patreon. Shout out to all our new patrons. We got some really cool stuff coming down the line for you. Mm-hmm. Okay, $1 gets you in. You meet up with alliance members, yada, 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 and then you pull your points together. Alliances are basically genre-based type, folks, whatever. You pull your points together, and then that helps determine what song we do. Or you can do the filthy capitalist option, which is what the big homie Muk Meh has done and has been doing for quite some time.
Shout out to Hector. Shout out to Victor.
Shout out to all of you beautiful people.
Shout out to Courtney.
125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You do that 3 times, you get knocked out of the $75 rate. Having said that, we are about to listen.
Oh, something exciting. This is the last we'll hear of Muk Meh for quite some time. He's going to be recording this summer.
Yes, Pinky.
So,
yes, don't worry, dear listener.
He's still going to be around the village, I suppose, but he's going to be putting out some music.
Facts! Did he tell us the name of his band?
We'll talk about it offline.
Okay. Must be a terrible name or something.
No,
Having said that,
I don't think I remember.
Veronika, let's go.
Oh, winter.
That bass line is hard, bro.
Oh no. I like it.
Wow.
Wow.
Whoa. Yikes. Yikes.
So she died?
I mean, I don't know it.
Well, in the video.
The song might be a concept record. I mean, who knows? But holy moly, man. That's
This is interesting how there's like biblical themes in this. Like, look at the next one, Tears into Wine.
Right.
The next song, White Sparrows. The Dead Can't Testify. Bloody Nails and Broken Hearts. Just interesting.
Yeah. I mean, look, man, it's
it's woven into the very fiber of our being.
Yeah, at least in Western culture.
Yeah.
Man, it's
shoot. Wow. Okay, first of all, obviously this is talking about a kid.
Kid? Why do you say kid?
They found an empty bottle on her windowsill the day her mother lost her sleeping pills.
You talking about 18, 19 years old? You mean like teenager kid? Or
no, I mean kid. I say kid as in I was picturing like 8 to 12 years old.
Oh, I was thinking maybe a teenager.
But a teenager could just leave. That's why I feel like it's more like somebody younger.
Oh, what do you mean, like they could leave? Well, I don't think there was do you think there was an abusive situation?
It says she was sick and tired of being invisible, hard to see in color when you're miserable. So I think that the kid was depressed and the parents were so focused on other things that the kid was non-existent. I think when you're 16, you want to be non-existent. You want to hang out with your friends and stuff. But I think, when you're younger, close to 10 years old, you're still dependent on your parents a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you're saying that. You probably wanted to be invisible when you were 16. But that's not the experience for a lot of teenagers.
Yeah,
A lot of teenagers...
I was always getting in trouble.
A lot of teenagers
Over stupid stuff, too.
Yeah, well, you were getting in trouble for the reason that you were probably very popular. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that your teenage experience, although it was bad, and I'm glad you made it out of it, I just think there's a lot of, like, teenagers who feel invisible. They're not the popular one in school. They're not very pretty. They're not very whatever. And so, I was on my ride with Johan, and we were talking about...
Oh, he was so happy about that ride.
Was he?
He makes me want to cry. He's 12 now.
He's 12.
Yeah. He's like, most of the kids they'll go get a drive and then they'll be like, it wasn't long enough, or they'll have like some little negative whatever to say. He was like, Mom, I got to go on a drive last night. I said, you did? He goes, at 2 a.m. I said, really? I knew, but I was like, oh, really? He's like, yeah. And then he said, we were driving for an hour. He felt like that was just unbelievable. Dad took him out for an hour at 2 a.m. It was so cute.
It's more like 45 minutes, but shout out to the whole.
Yeah, but it just shows his gratefulness because he cut the exaggeration. He made the exaggeration longer rather than shorter. Well, it wasn't even an hour.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Some would say, but
yeah,
he's cute.
Well, that's good. We were talking about high school, like me in high school or whatever. I was talking about like how when I became a metalhead, I was ready to take on the whole world because you're in the Bronx, is the birthplace of rap, and here you are listening to this white music, blah blah blah. And I was like, whatever, man. Like this is, because we're talking about identity. I'm like, I had found my identity, so I wasn't giving up for anybody. But then it started to attract all the wallflowers, basically, the invisible, because there is so many kids in high school. The ecosystem is so toxic. If you're not like at the top of the food chain and you're not one of the popular ones, like life it can be really difficult for you in high school.
That's too bad.
So I was reading that into the situation. Like this is a kid in high school or 17, 18 years old, maybe 16, 17, and diagnosed with obviously some disorders because he was talking about the pills don't work. When the meds don't work or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is, so it just looks to me like this is somebody who'd been diagnosed, gone to a specialist, diagnosed, and prescribed meds, and then gets to the point where the meds aren't working, and then people make
decisions in that situation.
Permanent decisions. So, there's all these phrases like, suicide is a temporary solution, was a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And I think that's a very nice, like, idea. But I have major depression. I'll have it till the day I die. That's not a temporary problem. Right? So the reason
maybe they mean temporary as in, like, you're not like that every day. Like, you may have the struggle every day, but it's in varying degrees.
Yeah,
and
but there's never going to be a week or a month where I don't have that issue.
Yeah.
And so
I know that now.
I understand the idea behind it, because you're trying to give a kid or anybody who's really contemplating suicide, you're trying to give them
some hope
to push forward and push through it. But that's not how it is for a lot of people. And so when people hear that, they're like, people don't get it, and and it's a weird, like, I didn't even want to, like, necessarily bring that up, other than to say,
I know, I was like, oh no.
Yeah, like, because I do think that if your issue is circumstantial, that's where that applies. If you have some horrible circumstance that happens, but again, there's so many situations, like, okay, your husband dies in a car accident, like, that's not a temporary problem. Like, he's always going to be dead. So for me, it's like sometimes people have these phrases that, like, oh, it
time heals all wounds.
Yeah, time. There's nothing about time that heals anything.
Right. Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, so, but at the same time, like, I understand what people are trying to do. You're trying to give people some courage and things like that. And to me, real life can never get solved in a line. Real life solutions are much, much more messy than that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's like, and my doctor was really cool about it, because she was like, look, man, this is a thing. The meds are just there not to solve all your problems. You've got DBT, you've got all these other things. You have spiritual outlets, whatever, which at the time I didn't want to hear anything about that. So, but I really appreciate the fact that my doctor was like, look, the meds are not going to, well, her philosophy was like, we're not going to drug this kid up to beyond the point of, because there's ways to not feel anything.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, yeah. they can, I've seen, I've got family members who are in the medical field who had access to all types of drugs, and I've seen people strung on heroin, I've seen people on crack, and none of that holds a candle to certain prescription pills. Holy moly.
No way.
Especially at extremely high doses. So, like, so my doctor's philosophy was, keep the essence of the person's, like, personality and who they are, mm-hmm. and at the same time, have some of these, whatever. So she's like, you're never going to have a situation where you're just happy and clappy and like the rest of normal people, like, you're always going to battle it, but there's methods and things you can do to overcome it and things like that. And so, like, I was really, because she just gave it was just so real world, mm-hmm. like other people when they had doctors, they're like, oh, we'd be in group and then they'd be like, oh yeah, my doctor said, once this kicks in and blah, blah, blah. And then they was all like heavily on the meds as if the meds were going to save the day. Mm-hmm. And, the meds take away barriers to give you a fighting chance, or it evens the playing field for you to apply, healthy survival mechanisms.
Right.
They're not there to be your savior.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, that's one of those things, man, where it's like, America is one of the most medicated and one of the most richest countries in the history of human beings. We're probably, if somebody did some anthropological study, we're probably the richest, most medicated group of people the world has ever seen. And that hasn't curtailed our suicide problem.
Right. I think that that doctor said it was something crazy, like America has, like, we make up like 11%, 5 or something percent of the, Dr. Brown, we make up like 5% of all the population of the world, but we're taking 80% of the world's narcotics. So it was like some crazy number like that.
Who's
it was
Dr. Brown?
The one that did Salah's hand.
Oh,
because he was talking about, like,
whoa, that's crazy, bro.
He said he said that that something happened like in the medical field where people started saying pain equals bad, and that was, you know, when you go to the doctor's office and they have that the thing at the bottom, I can't remember what it's called, but it's the smiley faces that go all the way up to 10.
Yeah.
And you pick on there where you are on the spectrum of how much pain you have. And it's like their goal was 0 pain is what you want.
Right.
And then he said, look, I'm like 50, he's what, 50, 60 years old. He's like, I have pain in my body. Like if every day, because he's older, you know, although he should take some,
chaga.
he should take some,
take some chaga.
some vitamins and some chaga. You might not be in that situation. But so he was just saying that people are in that situation and there's we can't look at pain as something that's like always and for all time bad, and you have to eradicate
Avoid
all
it
pain,
at all costs. Right?
Because pain, that's just not practical. Especially the older that you get, you have to accept certain forms of pain that kind of come to you and stuff. And
well, yeah, it's that book, The Giver.
I guess the nurses and stuff were being taught like get your patient to 0, and then that's how we got so many addicts.
Well, that's really good for the pharmaceutical industry.
Well, of course it is. Yeah, of course. And he said that too. I mean, it's convenient for them.
Well, we were there at the backstage with Head from Korn, and we had those people from Granite Recovery Center. They're like a rehab place, and they were talking about how a lot of their, you know, customers, clients, whatever, the people that ended up in the rehab got so because of the toothache. Remember she was talking about that? They were like, if you rate your pain anything other than a 6, like, I don't know if it's law, but it's like the standard recommendation that they issue you are a narcotic if you say anything over 5. Mm-hmm. And so you've got all these narked up people because they had a toothache. And, you know, I've been there, and I have to tell them specifically, like, do not give, you said it I have to explicitly say, do not give me a narcotic. And that was the most pain I've ever felt in my life. And I've been in some pretty bad situations. But I'm like, I understand, like, level the pain and, you know, whatever, but, like, it's a fact of life. You're going to be in pain, and you cannot eliminate all pain. And our desire to eliminate everything, now you've got this drugged up, over-medicated society. And again, I'm not somebody that's judging meds because they probably saved my life when I was 18 years old. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it's a really, really complex situation. One of the things that I've been really focusing on since like 2 weeks ago, we discovered this guy, Andrew Huberman is his name. And he's the hack your behavior, control your life. Like, I might, if I can get an interview with this dude, I might actually do that.
Are you sure that was his last name?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Andrew Huberman. Hack your behavior. Right there.
Okay. It's so funny because when you first heard him, you didn't like him.
Well, it wasn't that I didn't like him. It was just that I wanted to hear, you know, I was in the middle of my Hoffman craze, and I still am. Mm-hmm. And he was in the...
That's why. I was thinking you were talking about Hoffman. That's why I was like, are you sure you said that right?
Yeah, but Huberman is so good, man.
He's so freaking practical.
Yes.
And, you know, that's what I need. You know, and that's... When you think about the brain, like the way that the brain works...
He's a neuroscientist, by the way. Like, he's a neuroscientist.
And I'm quoting him.
From Stanford.
I'm going to be a little mushy here, but...
From Stanford. I mean, it's...
Like,
he's legit.
The brain makes shortcuts, so if normally, like, you stub your toe and you're like, wow, that really hurts, blah, 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 and then eventually you end up blowing up over it. Like, if you keep doing that when you get angry, you just blow up, then your brain just, like, creates a shortcut. So the minute you get angry, you just blow up.
Right.
And, like...
It's what repeated, learned...
Right, repetitive behavior. But when you think about, like, meds being something temporary, if you're looking at it as something temporary that you're saying, okay, this helps you regulate your brain functions.
Right.
Create new pathways.
Right.
Because now you're not as stressed out. So when something happens, you're like, that's not really a big deal. And you can kind of create, like, that bigger pattern rather than the straight 2.
Right.
I was just thinking about that, like, last night or today, I guess.
Well, yeah. I mean, and the stuff that he says about the biggest thing for me, and I've been like preaching it to the kids and pretty much everybody.
Anybody who will listen.
That'll listen, is when he talks about how stress is, and I'm going to butcher the comment too, but he basically said stress is the brain's way of giving you the excess energy you need to get out of a situation. So,
right.
So that was paradigm shifting for me, because it was like everybody looks at stress as a bad thing, when in reality, what we're calling stress, he was talking about, it wasn't testosterone, it was adrenaline, I think, and a couple other things like that. Your body gets rushed with it. And it's interesting. It's basically the same mechanism. It's basically the same sort of mechanism that we call stress. Also happens when you win the championship. Your brain floods your body with, I don't know if it's endorphins or a mix of endorphins and adrenaline, and so that you're able to fully express your whatever. It gives you that shot of energy so you can jump up and down and be happy. And then when you're stressed and in a bad situation, the brain floods you with all this excess energy to get you out of it. And that's why when people are stressed, they start moving around and all this other stuff, is because they have all this excess energy. But what ends up happening is people end up focusing on the feeling and the energy of the stress instead of saying, this is me getting. It's kind of like in Super Mario when you get the star, and then you'd be able to speed up and you'd be able to run through everything for like 30 seconds. Like, that is what stress is supposed to do. The stress is actually a gift in that sense. And obviously as Christians, like, there's an overarching, oh, okay. And so once I heard that, like, it was really paradigm shifting. It was like, okay, you're stressed. That means you're in a situation you need to get out of. Cooperate with your brain. Engage your mind. And he doesn't believe there's a distinction between brain and mind. I think he's wrong about that. But so does Dr. Hoffman. But that's a group of people I'd like to get in the same room. But I really, really like, and then the idea that you could hack your own behavior, you can create your own reward systems. Like, you're not enslaved to these things, right? So it was really paradigm shifting. I was sitting there reading the Bible thing with Zoe, and Jesus says, you're anxious about many and troubled about many things, right? Like, and so like, there it is, anxiety and stress. And Jesus, I was telling somebody, like, just take that excess energy and channel it into something good to get you out of that situation. So Mary was sitting there going to Jesus, and that's the point of your energy. Ultimately, as a Christian, we would say the reason for all of the excess energy, whether it's stress energy, bad, or celebration energy, good, all of that's supposed to go Godward. So it creates a more holistic worldview.
Right.
But I really, really think, like, if they were able to really grasp what this guy was saying, like, it really helps you shape your reality and help your understanding. Paradigm shifter. Yeah, it would have been really helpful for me if if I was at the hospital and it's like, okay, this is a neuroscientist, blah, 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 like, that would have really helped me. And, none of this stuff is necessarily, like, completely new, because you had DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy, and things like that to try to get you to establish new patterns, because a lot of people, when they were getting that excess energy, that excess stress, what they would do is they'd start self-harming, to relieve that. And then because your body's in pain, it sends off these endorphins and things like that to kind of function as an anesthetic. So what ends up happening is, like, you're stressed, you're in a bad situation, you go cut yourself, your body's flooded with endorphins or whatever to help you with the pain of the cut, but you're thinking, like, oh, I'm getting some relief. It's just like cigarettes. Like, the cigarette is an upper, right? So halfway through the cigarette, you're stressing yourself out more, but then you smoke. It's really, really interesting loops that people
get
people
yourself
create.
Stuck in.
And then you feel trapped in them. And I think what Huberman is saying is that just like you developed, those neural pathways that have almost these instinctual drives, like, oh, I'm in trouble, I got to cut myself, blah, 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 blah. You can, by continuous and purposeful repetition, create new sort of pathways and instincts, and then you can create your own reward system, which I thought was really, really interesting. And so, that stuff is really, really cool. Hopefully we could put a link down there, because it's kind of self-help, But I think it's beyond self-help in the sense that there's a scientific element to it. You know, Tony Robbins and stuff like that. I've never listened to him, and I'm sure he's literally, Tony Robbins has inspired literally millions of people.
Well.
So I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it, but just for me, when I see scientific justifications for this stuff, I go, whoa, that resonates so much.
Yeah, for sure.
It's more inspiring to me, and it resonates so much more with me when I see a scientific basis for something. So, you know, I would commend him to anybody.
You're a Christian. I thought you were against science.
Right, we're against science. Christians don't like science. It's all spiritual. Just pray about it. Pray about it, Veronika.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Well, I do think, and I've got to circle back with Matthew Winter on this, because I do think there's a religious element to this, which is people think it's spiritual to not be on meds. I've heard so many
absolutely.
times.
Absolutely. They said that when I was in college. Like, that was discouraged, and they were making it seem like, you know, because there's a verse that says, you know, the one where he says, the mighty counselor, the everlasting father, the Prince of Peace. Yeah. Well, in there's something about a counselor.
Mighty counselor, yeah.
It is mighty counselor, yeah. Okay, so they brought that verse to us, and they were like, you don't need a counselor. He is the mighty counselor, and so you're supposed to go to God in prayer. And so, you know, a lot of people had that mindset. But now I'm like, yeah, but there are experts who could really help you. Why would somebody...
Well, yeah, and that's obviously a misunderstanding. Like, do people really think that Isaiah was saying, he's a great guy to tell your problems to, when they said mighty counselor? Everlasting God, Prince of Peace? Like, really? You know the Septuagintal translation of that,
no,
right?
I don't.
It's
I don't.
Prince of the Council. Idiots. I should stop for a loss.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. Well, that makes more sense, doesn't it? Prince of the Council. That's good.
Everlasting Father, Mighty God, Prince of Peace. Like, all those are just divine titles about his exalted status. It's not, oh, he's a nice guy to talk to, don't take meds. Like, what the hell?
You should have been with me at college. We could have got kicked out together.
Yeah. You could also got pregnant very early. You never have to worry about any fertility issues at all.
Oh, that's true. I could have started all the people's judgment on me way back then.
Yes.
I'd be free of it.
Also, fuck you continually.
In a loop.
In a loop, right. All the live streamers know what we're talking about in a
and
loop.
everybody that's been in our live streams.
Everybody that's had the misfortune of being in our live streams.
Yeah.
Yes, Pinky. Yeah. Yeah. Christian culture, man, is look. There's many good things that has happened as a result of Christian culture. I'm not going to be one of these
hospitals,
these ignorant people that, you know, I mean, because that's our team, right? That is our team, so I'm never going to be a sellout and like, you know, completely, but holy shit, man, modern evangelical culture is insane. And it's even more dangerous now because you have people who, like, are not educated in the field, who are making these pronouncements about people's meds and all this jazz and trying to somehow create like a spiritual hierarchy. And if you have these issues, but you don't take any meds, it's almost like not taking an epidural when you're pregnant, you know, like, oh, those are the real Christians and they didn't, you know, they just needed to depend on God and all the rest of it. And like, that's just so crazy to me. But that's what happens when you have an incomplete worldview. Mm-hmm. You know, this sort of like, it's almost like this Gnostic, lazy spirituality that doesn't do the hard work of putting together how the physical and the spiritual interact with each other. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I just wanted to make sure that you saw it.
Yeah, let me see. No, I didn't see it.
Here in Isaiah, it says it right there.
Where?
So, like, these are the things that kill me right here. Because a child was born to us, a son was given to us, whose leadership came upon his shoulder, and his name is called Messenger of the Great Counsel. And the word messenger, you know, I'm sure is angel of the Great Counsel.
Wow.
So, which obviously,
for I will bring peace upon. Wow.
The Greek New Testament. The Greek Old Testament is quoted about 90% of the time in the New Testament. So this would have been their understanding of Isaiah 9:6,
Yeah.
is that he was the messenger or the angel of the great council.
And they just reduced it to...
And of course, in the Old Testament, there's a divine council of God, Psalm 82. God takes his place among the gods. In the divine council, in the midst of the gods, he holds judgment. Mm-hmm. So there is a divine council in heaven of gods, and then you have Yahweh, who is the capital G, eternal creator God, who created the rest of them. But then there is this one angel who presides over the council, and then he comes down to earth. Mm-hmm. And then after he accomplishes work, he's no longer the angel of the council. He is the head of the council. Jesus said, all authority in heaven and earth has been given to me. That means he has a new role in the divine council. But anyway, different topic. Really fascinating topic.
I think it's one of my favorite topics.
Yeah, but like this right here, do some. How many people have been killed just on that nonsense alone?
I don't know, because when you put that, so a lot of times, when I'm talking to different people, I've heard things, probably because of the circles that I've been in. There's this, I don't know how else to say it. With spiritual abuse is the words that's used, where you get this idea that things should be a certain way because you're in a religious environment. So if you go to church or you pray, then things should be getting better for you. Or some places it's like you're going to get certain gifts from God if you go to this church and you're doing the right thing. And so because God's timing is not the same as our timing, and things are not necessarily going to look the same for each person because everybody's different, then it puts people in this situation where they feel like God hates them because X, Y, and Z thing didn't happen to them when they attended this church or when they prayed, or I've been consistently praying and nothing's happening. And so then they think, wow, I must really be literally the shittiest person on the face of the planet because even God himself, there's that phrase, a face so ugly even a mother wouldn't love it. You know what I mean? Something like that. It's okay, if I was created by God and he won't even speak to me when I pray, what does that mean for me? But it's not like that. There's, sometimes it's about learning even to hear God, because your ears are, it's kind of like when you're so busy that you don't even really notice the sounds that are around you. You can go to certain locations, let's say you live by the ocean, you're going to eventually stop hearing the sound of the ocean, or you're not going to hear the seagulls anymore because your head kind of gets used to it. Right. So you have to be reacclimated to it, or kind of learn to stop and listen. And that's kind of how it is. There's that verse that says, be still and know that I am God. And I think that happens with people, where it has to be a stillness has to come, and then you're going to kind of hear God. So. Yeah, but that counsel is.
But, yeah. Yeah, and obviously we're not just spirits, we're also bodies. Mm-hmm. And so all these people that are you shouldn't take meds, blah, blah, blah. I'd like to just go there with a baseball bat and break their knee and say, don't go to the hospital, bro.
Well, it's funny because...
Don't go to the hospital. God will heal your knee.
It's weird because before I went to this college, there was, I was did a little bit of research online, and then there was this story, and they were this is the worst college on the face of the planet. We had a toothache, and my tooth was literally needed to be extracted, and they were saying we're just gonna pray for it.
Was it your school?
Yeah, they were saying it was about this school. So I called and I was like, hey, there's a story, and he was like, oh no, that's not what really happened. We never did that. They just took it to that level, blah blah blah. And then when I was literally at the college, there was they told us a story of this woman that had cancer, and her arm was just black. And somebody was telling her, you need to go to the hospital. You need to go to the hospital. And she was like, no, I prayed about it. And so God's going to heal it and I don't have to go to the hospital. So it seemed from when I was there, the counsel that they were giving people was if there was a physical ailment, pray about it. And if nothing happens, go to the hospital. But with the spiritual stuff or your emotional needs
or psychological
issues. Those things, it was not go to the hospital. It was pray about it. And I half wonder how much of that was because somebody actually believed that that's what you should do, or if it was so much about appearances. Because a lot of times, if you're in church cultures, you'll bump into somebody you'll be like, how was your church today? Oh, it was great. Oh, my church was great. Everybody's church was great every single Sunday, because nobody wants to admit that sometimes their pastor does a lousy sermon because they got to be better than everybody else. So if you're running to the counselor, then that kind of makes it, you know what I'm saying? If you're the pastor of that church, and half your congregants need to see counselors, then does that like speak to you and how you're teaching? You know what I'm saying? Like, so then discourage people from doing that, like, oh, go to God in prayer. I don't really know, because it does seem like a lot of times in the different groups that I was in, appearances was a big thing. Like looking good to other people was a very important thing, which it'll shipwreck you.
I say this all the time, Paul did many amazing miracles in the New Testament, raised people from the dead, blah, 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 cast out demons. And his protege, Timothy, had basically a stomach virus.
Yeah.
And a lot of these guys, this is Judaism, so you take basically these vows that you'll never touch alcohol. And so it looks like in that Timothy, Paul's protege, had taken one of those vows. Mm-hmm. But he had a stomach ailment. Mm-hmm. He had a stomach virus. And, it's the ancient world, water, yada, yada, yada. And so the way that they would purify the water real quick was to add a little bit of wine to it to, kill the whatever. But because he had taken this vow not to drink any alcohol, his stomach was getting killed.
Right.
So Paul writes and says, stop drinking only water. Mm-hmm. Paul didn't say, I'm going to pray for you, you're going to get healed. He told them to take medicine.
That was a physical ailment, because they preached that to us.
Well, chemical imbalances are part of the physical world. The chemical imbalance is a physical thing. That's not a metaphysical issue.
Yeah, but I don't think that they believed. I don't think that they believed in, like, chemical imbalances. I think it was spiritual. Like, any sort of dysfunction was spiritual.
Right, and that's
like
the problem.
Any type of emotional dysfunction was spiritual.
That's the problem, and obviously it happens on the secular side as well, because they say they don't believe in the spiritual world. So you have somebody that's obviously spiritually afflicted, and they try to combat it with physical remedies. Mm-hmm. That doesn't work. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't work on the other side either. When somebody has a physical malady and you try to spiritualize everything, that doesn't work either. If somebody has a compound fracture in their knee, like, they got to go to the doctor and get that shit set, bro. And you got to give them a bunch of
Well, I mean, unless... There are times where God will just do a crazy healing.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, Paul knew that because Paul rose people from the dead.
Right.
But that's why they're called miracles.
Right.
If it happened every day, it would not be called a miracle.
Right.
So, like, that's the thing. Like, you got to really, 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 like, especially in the religious context, and like I said, there's some religious understandings here, but... That shit becomes really, really dangerous.
Not that I think I'm asking this question for me. I don't even think our crowd may not even be interested. Do you think that Jesus, like, knew the plan? Like, when somebody came up to him, like, how do you think he decided who he was going to heal and who he wasn't going to heal? Do you think he just listened to the Father on everything he did?
Yeah, John 5, the Son can do nothing without the Father. So, every move that he did, every miracle that he did came from the Father, as far as, like, the Father saying, that guy.
So I wonder if on the ones he didn't heal them, if it was like, because he didn't see the end, if he had like a complete trust in the Father that it's going to be, even though I'm not healing this person right now, like it's going to be good for them, Well, there's that guy in Acts that the apostles healed, and it said he'd been basically paralyzed for years or whatever. Mm-hmm. Well, that means Jesus must have walked by him 1,000,000 times, and he never healed the guy. Mm-hmm. He waited for the other guys healed. I was having a really good conversation with Mark, my new favorite deist/agnostic friend, and we were talking about Black Sabbath shirt guy.
Yeah, Black Sabbath shirt or
Light
shirt,
Bearer.
who knows? Mr. Lightbearer, and like we were talking. There's this theory of religion's designed to answer questions on it. The God of the Gaps thing, and I said, well, if that's the case. Why do you have Deuteronomy 29:29, right? Which says the secret things belong to the Lord, but the things revealed belong to us and our children, so we might obey all the words of this law. But when it says the secret things belong to the Lord, what it's saying is there are mysteries in the world God's never going to explain to you. Those belong to Him. Mm-hmm. So obviously, that's not the point of all religion. Right. Of biblical religion. It's not. And I said, sometimes religion creates more difficult questions.
Facts.
And does not give you answers. So like the book of Job, for example, is a clear one, because Job is never given an answer for why he suffered the way he did. Mm-hmm. Ever. It starts off, he's got a good life, and then all this horrible shit happens to him, and then he starts, God, why did you do this to me? Yada, 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 yada. And then God shows up and says, all right, buddy, this is what happened. He doesn't do that. God says, oh, yeah? Well, where were you when I created the earth and laid the foundations of the earth and the morning stars sang for joy? And where were you where are the storehouses of snow? Where is it? It's like a series of 55 questions. And God keeps saying, tell me if you know. And of course, the answer is he doesn't have an answer to any of those. And God doesn't explain anything. He just says, how about you just trust me? So biblical religion is not designed to answer every question and every trouble. A lot of the answers are just trust God. Just leave it. Just trust God. And my point in saying that is because there's an allusion to Job here.
Oh, that's exactly what I thought of when
right? He says, right outside of heaven's gate in all the sacred hearts, can't numb the feeling from the pain, because when the drugs don't work, you're going to curse his holy name.
Yeah, that part.
Which was the entire sort of conflict in the divine council in Job chapter 1. It's coming on full circle.
Yes, I used to love it when you do that.
It's funny because in that Superbook show, Michael was basically like the lead angel there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is also very interesting because, if you look at many commentaries, especially from the 1800s, they believe that Jesus is Michael.
Oh, right.
So you combine that with the messenger of the council.
Yeah.
The Lord rebuke you.
Yeah.
So, so that was the situation. It's like, hey, if I do all this, Job's going to curse you to your face. And what's interesting is a lot of people look at it as a bet. A lot of people say there is this bet in heaven. There was no bet. Because a bet is, if I win, I get this. If you win, you get that. There was no bet. God just said, yeah, go do it. I'm sorry, that's what it says. What are you going to do?
Yep.
So, Job is such an interesting story in the Bible because...
that story's been bugging me, but carry on.
Currently?
Yeah.
Or all your life it's been bugging you?
No, currently. Well, see, when I first heard about the story of Job, they said... that at the end, God doubles all his stuff. And you don't understand that the timing can be really long. So I pictured, a month later, everything doubles for him. He's okay. Mm-hmm. But you don't even know. It never says how long he suffered, how long he was in that, how many years he might have been in that situation. And now as a parent, after having a miscarriage, I thought after I had my miscarriage that when I had my next baby, that was going to be good. Once I held my next baby, that was going to basically help heal me from... losing the other one. But it doesn't work like that. You still have that sadness and that sorrow because that's still another child that you'll never have and hold. And Job had multiple kids, and it said, what I have feared has come upon me.
Yeah. And
so he was really scared that something bad was going to happen to his kids, and sure enough, they all died in the same day by some stupid wind that came and,
Yeah.
Clearly it was came from God in the longabout sense. But still, it's a very difficult thing to look at. And, I was just talking to somebody about it the other day, and they were like, well, God doubled everything he had. And I'm like, yeah, but he did. It doesn't matter if he doubles your kids.
It's not like it's a pair of Nikes.
Right. Where you get better ones.
Yeah.
It's your kids, and you cannot replace. And you know what? I think the reason that I didn't understand that is because I didn't have multiple kids. Mm-hmm. So now that I have so many kids, it's like, if even one of them wasn't there, they all have their unique personalities, and they all
and they all become different when they're around each other, depending on the combination.
Yes.
So you're missing a version of everybody else without that one.
Oh my gosh, that's so true.
So
thank you for making it worse. That's so true, though.
I'm here. I'm here for you. Yeah. No.
So that's true. All of us. So there's Job, and he loses all his kids, and everything's going. So when it hit that point in the song, you're gonna curse his holy name, and then he starts, damn God, yeah, God, yeah. And then he's saying that part was emotional for me because I'm I always thought you should never say something like that. You never ever, even if you feel it, you can tell God, I'm a little bit upset here, blah blah blah. But to just, God is bigger than that. You know what I mean? And it's like our kids. Sometimes they go through phases where they'll get mad. It's usually about something super petty. They didn't get their way or something like that. But kids will go. If you have kids, you probably know this. One day they're gonna they look at you and did your kids ever tell you I hate you?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. So, like, I think I was in the store with Sayla when she was really little, and she wanted one of those little toys by the checkout counter. And I said no. And then she got super mad at me. She was like, I hate you. And, like, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, yeah, but I know in the long run, like, getting her everything she wants is not going to be good for her. And so you can kind of look at the bigger picture. And I think that's like that with God. Like, he knows that he's putting particular pressure on us, but he does have a future and a plan with it. So...
Well, yeah, and that was probably one of the most helpful sermons I've ever heard from John Piper. He did a series on Job. You should probably watch it. Where
Piper did?
Yeah, so Job is having all this terrible things happening to him, and then his religious friends show up and say, "All right, let's do some investigation because you must have done something to warrant this horrible situation." And Job goes, "What the fuck are you guys talking about? I was better than all of you. What are you? You guys are dumb as hell." And then he goes, "And you?" He's like, "We need to have a meeting." And they're like, "Are you serious? Here you are judging the Almighty. What is wrong with you? This proves that you are as horrible as we thought you were." And then Job says, "Do you think that you can reprove words when the speech of a despairing man is wind? Mm-hmm. You would even cast lots over the fatherless and bargain over your friend." He's saying you guys are human traffickers. That's what it means to cast lots for the fatherless. Like, you guys are horrible. Like, that's the thing about religious people, man. Like, piling on to a person who's suffering like that, in God's mind, puts you in the category of a human trafficker. Like, there's so much stuff about Job that people do not understand. Like, you're a horrible, evil person if you do that shit to a person in the middle of their suffering. Like, you're one of the worst. So by the end of the book, God shows up to Job's friends and says, "Hey, you guys said shit about me that wasn't true while this man was in pain and sorrow. And go to him and apologize, and he'll sacrifice for you so that I don't break out against you."
Honestly, though, yeah. But honestly, though, from God's perspective...
Evil bastard.
Like, that's infuriating. You know what I mean? Like, if, let's say we're teaching one of our kids some self-discipline and, you know, they're doing whatever. Let's say you ground them. They're grounded in their room. And then another kid, like, comes around and they're like, "Wow, you know, mom and dad hate you. That's literally why they do this, because they hate you and they want you separated from all of us." You know what I mean? Like, no, that's not it at all. And so, like, here's Job's friends, 3 of them coming in saying, "Oh, you sin, you did this and that," but that wasn't at all what was going on. It wasn't because of his sin. You know what's crazy, though? It's crazy to be around someone that's kind of in that phase. For me, it's very alarming.
In what phase?
Well, you know, I was around this person one time and they had been dealt a hard lot in life and they wanted a certain thing to work out for them. And they said, "It is going to work out for me because God owes me this." And I was like...
I know this person? Oh.
I was like, legit, when the person said that, I literally felt like gripping I thought that something was good. And then the moment went on, I said, "Wow, I cannot believe God let that happen." That person's still walking around breathing. It did happen for them. They did get what they wanted too. Well, it was so crazy.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I'll say this: God does owe us, but you don't want what He owes us. Like, we do not. Like, I'm a big believer in like I just said, not piling on people and things like that. Mm-hmm. One thing that we all have to understand is that God does not owe us any good thing. Mm-hmm. He does owe us, but He doesn't owe us any good thing.
Yeah, it was a very weird moment. But...
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And then I was like, if I was God, I would not give it to that person for that reason. Like, you can't, like, because they legit felt like, no. But, he's not, again, he's not swayed by, like, our opinions of him.
Yeah.
On that, Yeah. He's going to do what he's going to.
And I think anytime you're in pain, like.
Words to the wind type of.
We'll probably, somebody will probably call in. Because in the live stream, you can actually jump online and we can have a face-to-face conversation. It's been great. We just did. Check out the last live stream at about the 1 hour mark. I had a extended discussion with somebody, and we're going to be doing more of that for the channel. But, when it comes to the problem of evil and people suffering and things like that, like, my ultimate, thing is, what do you call ultimate good? And I think all of us know that there are some categories of pain that are necessary and good. Mm-hmm. And that we understand as necessary and good insofar as the benefit outweighs the momentary pain. So one example would be, we've got this COVID vaccine, and I understand everybody, I get it, you're going to get 9 arms and 8 legs and all that. But let's just say theoretically that the COVID vaccine actually works, right? So being stuck with a needle is painful and temporary. But the arithmetic that people are doing is saying this light and momentary pain is worth it. Or to a kid, I remember being a kid, the shots were the most anxiety-inducing thing. Oh, you got to go for shots. I was terrified.
I wanted shots because we never got them.
Terrified. I was terrified as a kid, and you could not tell me that it was light and momentary.
No, we didn't not get them because of fear of vaccinations. It was just my father was self-employed, so we didn't have insurance.
Shout out to capitalism.
Yeah,
we could have got freaking malaria and measles, mumps and rubella. Who cares? Pick yourself up by her bootstraps. Holy shit, America. Oh my God, we're doomed. Why God doesn't just sink this country into Sheol is beyond me. But we continue. You could not have told me as a 5-year-old kid, man. Well, my mom was a registered nurse, so I was getting my shots. You could not have told me, well, this is a light and momentary, and we're avoid. Listen, bro, polio is a much worse eventuality than this little shot.
Yeah.
Trust me. So we have categories to say there are necessary pains insofar as the benefit outweighs for longer and prevents much greater pain. And so if I put that paradigm up and I say, okay, what is the ultimate good? So the ultimate good in an inoculation is we want to extend your life and reduce your suffering by X years, right? So that's ultimate good in that context. So if I can stick you and you feel some discomfort for 10 seconds, but it can accomplish the ultimate goal, then it's worth it. That's how we do the arithmetic.
Right.
Okay, well, in the universe, seeing God, seeing Him, is ultimate good. The Catholics call it the beatific vision, the blessed vision, is being able to see God face to face. Like that's when from in a biblical universe, that's when everything is perfect. Is seeing the face of God. May the Lord bless you and keep you, and may the Lord cause His face to shine upon you. Moses,
be gracious to you.
Moses spoke to the Lord face to face as a man speaks with his friend. Right? Jesus talks about, seeing the face of God. The pure will see the face of God. So the face of God is the ultimate goal and the ultimate good. And so that's why the term cut off from his face or cut off from the land is like the ultimate death penalty in the biblical universe.
Yeah, and I think that, when Jesus says, Father, Father, why have you forsaken me?
Right.
I think because we don't understand, for some people, they don't understand what it is to look at the face of God, and then other people, so we don't have an understanding of what that would be like when He says that, like how excruciating that is. Right. Because, the ultimate goal is seeing His face. Right. And the ultimate hell is not seeing His face. Right. Or seeing His face in a place of wrath rather than grace.
Right. Right. But. So, no, that's exactly the point. And so Job, at the end of his life, says, I heard you with the ear. But now, and the but now means after I lost all my kids and my riches and my health, now my eyes see you. And
this is what I said with that person I was talking to.
What he was saying was, I was disabled. Not that... I used to say, oh, that means Job got a better vision of God. No, he had no vision of God. He just had a hearing understanding of God. And that hearing accomplished him being the most righteous man in the East.
Yeah.
But this most righteous man. That means you're the best of the worst. That's what that means, right? And so God goes, okay, this guy is the most righteous guy. So because I love him, I'm going to move him from hearing to seeing. And that was God's love for Job. If seeing God's face is the ultimate good, then whatever pain you have to endure to get to that point is good.
It's interesting because he says if you like read it, he basically points out Job to the devil.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, take a look
Have
at him.
you considered myself?
Yeah,
Job?
like he brings attention to it. You're like, why are you doing this?
Yeah, just
and
be
then,
quiet.
But, yeah. But then it's like, you understand.
With your omniscient
okay,
self.
what he's doing is he's literally using the devil like a pawn to bring about
Facts.
this greatness in Job so Job can see and not just hear.
And bless millions of people.
Right.
Job,
Oh
God
gosh.
never told Job, like, listen, bro, you're going to make the Bible. You're going to be like one of the all-time greats, blah, blah, blah. You're going to save millions of people from killing themselves and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
I am sure that Job was probably one of Jesus' favorite books in the Bible. I'm certain of it. So, because Jesus is the ultimate righteous, he's the ultimate righteous sufferer. Mm-hmm. So, like, yeah. It's a crazy thing. It's a crazy thing. But the song was deep. Hour-long review. What are you gonna do? I love the bass. They really featured the bass guitar in this song. The tuning was kind of down. Tuning was kind of weird, kind of almost fieldy-esque.
I liked it.
But I really, really, very, very unique. That middle breakdown was very, very unique. The singing, all that, it was really, really good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to give this song a 9.8.
I'm gonna throw in with you on that.
Muk Meh.
Yeah.
Muk Meh sending us off in good fashion.
Yes.
Shout out to the homie and shout out to his band.
Yep.
We will be checking your band soon, sir. One way or another. So having said that, dear listener, keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. The magic number is 78. If you've listened to the end of this video, the magic number is 78.
Are they email? What are they doing with that? Do this.
Put it in the comment section and we might get a random prize for you.
Hey.
All right. Oh. Having said that, Vin out.
Sorry out.
Gone.
Hey villagers, this is Archero and I'm inviting you to the Village March Madness Tournament. We're doing this as a fundraiser and to get together as a community and have a little bit of fun. If you're not familiar with March Madness, it is a 64-team college basketball tournament. The teams all play in single elimination round tournament style. Final winner is going to be the national champion. There's going to be a page set up on the ESPN website where you can make your guesses who's going to win each game. And we'll have a private group set up just for our village to compete against each other and see who predicted the winners best. To participate, it only costs $1. And all of that is going to go to help other villagers who are in need right now. This is all going to be happening in mid-March. More details are coming very soon about the dates, prizes, and how to join. I'll see you guys there. Keep it metal.